Hi, gang. Good evening. Nice to see you all. I'm Tanisha Dugan. I'm the producing associate here at TheaterWorks. Welcome to our Talk Back Tuesdays. For those of you who've joined me before, you know my spiel. For those of you who are new, you'll hear it afresh. Ever since I took on the talkbacks, it was important to me that we themed them so that there was a way for us to get deeper into the stories that we bring to life on the stage here. We are grateful to have as partners and sponsors for this production, Hartford Healthcare's Behavioral Health Network, and we worked hand in hand with Pat Reamer. Hi, guys. David Harris, John Cardone. So we worked hand in hand with Hartford Healthcare Behavioral Health Network to curate the topics for this particular show, because we knew that whatever we did for this show, I wanted to make sure we handled it with care. And I think we've got some guests who are going to help us do that tonight. So joining me here is Dr. Craig Allen. He's with Shoreline Recovery Center. Next to him is Matt DeLuca and his mom, Donna DeLuca, who's president and CEO of the CARES Group. Cristiano? So it's really important when we're bringing in guests to join us for these conversations is that they help us illuminate what these wonderful people have done on the stage for you tonight. Maya Kelleher. So I'm going to start really with you guys. You know, how true to life is the storyline of abuse, beginning sort of with the misuse of prescribed drugs? So we follow Natalie's character, and we see that she picks up the habit because it was in her mom's closet. How true, to life is that storyline?
I can speak as a psychiatrist and an addiction medicine doctor for Rushford Center.
Oh, Rushford, excuse me.
Gotta get it straight. We have some Rushford members of the audience. And I think that we can probably hear a little more from Matt, who's been through this first-person experience. But from a child adolescent standpoint, child adolescent psychiatrist and addiction medicine, most of the prescription medications that are abused by adolescents, far and away, the vast majority are found in the medicine cabinet or on grandpa's side table and aren't bought from drug dealers, at least when people first start out. So from that perspective, it was realistic.
J.D. Dodd joining us.
Yeah, I believe it was very true to life. I think the part that was most true to life was not necessarily the availability of finding it in a medicine cabinet. I didn't find prescription pills in my parents' medicine cabinet that I abused. I think what was very true to life was the stress and pressure and escaping that in one way, shape, or form. My addiction, my disease has manifested itself in many ways over the years. I've used many things to escape from my reality, and the reality that I was in. So I think that part of it was the most true to life.
Nick Sachs joining us. That's actually a wonderful segue for me because it's a question that I've had for Maya, which is you play this character who's oh so perfect. And there's something about watching this perfect person, this person striving for everything to be just right, to crack. So what was that like for you as you're working, as a craftsperson, you're working to sort of build this character?
I think, at first it was really just important to find the neutral place for Natalie, even though the neutral place is kind of a little fucked up too, because her attention to perfection is almost, I would say, an addiction in a sense. And from there it was kind of like finding the little cracks that could find my way into the bigger crack as a whole. Yeah, I think that's kind of how I approached it.
I'm going to open it up to you guys. Usually I go on and on, but I feel like tonight's a good night to sort of begin to ask you some questions, or have you ask these guys some questions. Again, within this theme tonight of opioid addiction and the way in which you saw the play manifest itself in that theme. But of course, wherever you want to take it, we'll go also. Questions? The question is to Christiane, it's how does she handle the highs and lows of living with this character?
Well, I don't think Alice had trouble. I think she was kind of like that before it started. And I know her. I love her, and I can see it. The way we're telling this story, the way that we are telling this story, and the way that we insisted on telling it, it wasn't going to be just about a crazy person. It was about the family's journey. So even at the end of the first act, although it changes nightly, generally speaking, I'm almost elated in a strange way, because there's a release, like I'm where I want to be. So even in the perception of it would be at her lowest point, she's getting the release. So for me, I'm playing that I'm really thrilled to be there. I mean, thrilled as it can be, but you know what I mean. And then at the end, it's where we end with it. There's hope, and she's in control for the first, or sees hope for the first time. So I never found myself ever stuck somewhere that I couldn't leave, and it's been a shock to find that the whole experience has been like that. He doesn't have that thing.
Well, no, no, it's a very different journey for Diana and Dan, and Diana gets to wear all those emotions on her sleeve and display them when she's up, down, and everywhere in between, whereas Dan has similar feelings when your partner in life is going through these things. You feel, plus his own emotion, but the difference is he's just putting a lid on his and bottling his up. And during the rehearsal process for this, I was leaving the rehearsal room after rehearsing for 8 hours a day, really heavy and really drained, and going, I don't know how I'm going to do this, this is heavy. But doing the show from A to B, and it's one journey, it's actually, by the time I get to have my moment at the end, it is a release for me as well. And it's quite cathartic to go there. And I too see it as the beginning, not the havoc of Dan or his inner hole. I find, for me, for my mental state as well as for where I place Dan, it's his moment of, it's his new chapter starting. So it's a new book, so it's a beginning of healing, beginning of mourning a loss that he's never mourned, the loss of his son. He's never dealt with a lot of his issues. This is the beginning of that. So I see it as a positive as well, which makes me, as David Harris, walk out the building in a light sense.
Donna, you, as a family member, listening to these guys talk about the family's journey, what was it like for you to watch this show tonight?
Talk about true to life. Every theme, every emotion that I felt being addicted to. I have 4 children, and Matt is my second son, but his brother, who's 4 years older, is also a recovering addict. So 2/4 of my children are afflicted with the disease of addiction, substance use disorder. And so everything, denial, stigma, pain, remorse, highs and lows, I could have been every character. And, you are so right. So for 15 years, I've been addicted on one level or another to my children's addictions. And that comes with it a whole host of my own mental health issues. And so what I did with that many years ago is we started a conversation conversation, and we have, 4 support groups, and we have people talking about it, which is not what this family was able to do outside of the constellation of their family. And so that's where, selfishly, that's where I found my hope. That it didn't take till the end of the play, thank God, for me to say, wait a second, I can't live like this anymore. I can't bottle it up anymore. I can't. We're not going to let this stigma keep us sick in our family. And it's work. This hard work. I mean, I was exhausted watching it because it's the work that we've had to do for so many years.
I should note, Christiana's waving out there to the audience. We're on Facebook Live, and we say hi to all of our friends there. If you have any questions or comments, please send them, and we will answer them as well. Any more questions from our live audience, in addition to our digital audience?
I have another question for Christiane. That's okay. I was just wondering what the hardest part about preparing for the role or playing the role was.
Any challenges in preparing for the role?
I think finding a graceful way to maneuver it vocally so that I can still do this by the end of Sunday, and to know that here there are no understudies, so it's us, or at least for our characters, and we have an incredible my savior back there on the soundboard, who has been so utterly patient with me as I figure out how to negotiate it, because the style is so important, and the story and the emotion behind it is paramount, but being able to do it every night is the goal. And so you can't just go out and be like, blah, blah, blah. So I've had to really find where can I pull way back and how, and if I chomp on my consonants more and find different ways of being intense without just slamming it, is that going to save me for the places where I do have to slam it? And so that's taken, I'm still figuring it out. I mean, we've been, how long have we been running now? Like 3 weeks? 3.5 weeks, so. I'm nearly halfway through, yeah. By the last week, I'll probably be like, whee, got it. So it's, that, I'd say, has been my biggest challenge.
And we've been so lucky to extend it twice, so you've got 2 more weeks to sort of right? Right down here.
So you said the way we chose to tell this story. I saw it on Broadway. It was a long time ago, but I saw it on Broadway. How do you feel that it was different in your telling?
So the question is, how is our telling different than the original production?
Well, when Rob, our esteemed leader, and I first discussed doing this show, I felt like it was really important that it wasn't about a woman and her afflictions. It was about a woman trying to survive as she is in this world and figuring out what that was. Because we all, the whole idea of next to normal, who is to say what is normal? And just because you make someone else uncomfortable, then you must be abnormal. So then therefore, you need to take your medication, you need to do this, you need to do that. And for some people it's wonderful, and for her it was not. So, but it wasn't going to be just about, oh, there's the crazy lady deciding not to be on her meds. It had to be, I felt like it needed to be a different journey, and one where the heartbreaking thing is not just watching her go through it, but how it affects everyone in this household. That's what's heartbreaking. And that I felt perhaps had not been explored in the same manner as we did, I think.
I think I never saw the original Broadway. I wasn't living here at the time, so but I have seen video footage of it. And I think in this setting with only 193 seats, it's like you're another character in our play, and you're in our living room, you're in our house, and I think that has a major difference to what a big Broadway theatre experience was or is. So I think that we're very conscious of that, and we feel you. We feel you're very much a part of the show when we do it. Yeah, we hear all that, and that's an important part for us. It feels like one unit, and it's not separated by an orchestra pit or anything like that. And I know Rob with the design was to make it very filmic with the revolves and things to slide on it, rather than more of a rock concert-y type of thing, which it kind of border on an original production. This is very much, this is very much more you're in our living room, you're in our kitchen.
One of the things that we pride ourselves on here at TheaterWorks is that we tell intimate stories. And so when Rob fell in love with this piece, it was sort of like when we were planning the season, this was the stake in the ground. He knew he wanted to do this piece, and he knew that it was important because this communion that we get to have with each other, that these artists get to have with you, is unmatched by any theater I've ever worked at. And the story takes on a special note when you are this close to him finally saying his son's name after 18 years, right? The discovery that she's going to live her life on her own terms for the first time. It's life-changing for us as audience members to be able to witness that face-to-face, to be able to experience it, for you to use our experience as part of your work. It's a beautiful circle. It's amazing work. Yes, one and then two.
First of all, it was very moving, and I wanted to thank you all for the performance. I have a question for the doctor, the psychiatrist. My understanding of bipolar disorder is it's a chemical imbalance, and that you don't need a traumatic incident for onset. Now this, I believe, life is all about changing perspective and learning and thinking anew. Now this gives me the thought that, mental illness, even when it's serious bipolar disorder, could be brought about by traumatic events and not being able or willing or capable to feel those feelings and grief, which is a very different mindset from the script.
So the question is about onset and triggers, essentially.
Psychiatric disorders are very complicated. They're so complicated that we really don't know what causes them, but we do know that there are many different factors and variables that feed into someone actually developing a full-blown bipolar disorder, or the symptoms of a bipolar disorder, the manias and the depressions and so forth. So no, it does not have to be a trigger. In fact, that's not the way I would usually describe it if I was trying to describe it to a family or to someone who was afflicted with that illness. And I think next week Karen Kangas is going to be here, who started a training institute for people in recovery, and there are many different views as to how, and there are many different ways as how people deal with physical illness, with medical illness, with addictions and psychiatric disorders. So I think it's very helpful and healthy to understand the broad range of strategies there are and approaches there are to managing a mental illness. And I really love the way that the cast here created the feeling and the fact, brought up the fact that it's the entire family, and Donna too, and Matt, it's the entire family that suffers so much when someone has any type of disorder. But we're talking about psychiatric disorder tonight. I think about opioids all the time, and heroin addiction and opioid addiction. And I just wanted to say this maybe a little too simple, but as I was sitting, out there in the audience with opioids in my body, but in my brain, and we all have opioids in our bodies, but I was thinking of the lost son, the lost child, as a metaphor for an opioid addiction. I don't see an opioid addiction, but any type of addiction. And it keeps coming back and affects every single person in the family. It keeps coming back and keeps coming back, despite the challenges that's always looming in the background.
I too saw Next Normal, but it was at the Bushnell in Hartford a couple of years ago. And not only having seen this for the second time, but I understood a lot more, and I misunderstood the first time. So it was really very revealing to me, living with a man who does suffer from bipolar disorder. So I thank you very much.
It was a thank you. And
that resonated a lot with me was after the plays, the first time I asked my wife, what was it like when I was in the hospital? And she said she didn't know. No one told her why I was there. No one explained what was going on that she could probably connect to. And from the dating couple to the end of the line, it got me sobbing. It was a very powerful performance that led me to ask a question I never asked before. In all the years I was experiencing whatever it is I'm experiencing.
And the question being what she...
I think that's one of the great things that I've found with doing the show is that everyone wants or is talking about it afterwards with whoever they came with. They'll talk about a certain subject or issue within the show or a character or why did this happen. I've been stopped every time I've left the theatre and there's been a question or why did this or how was the resolution. It's causing conversation, and for theatre to do that, and particularly around these issues, it's just wonderful to be a part of and see that conversation blossoms after the show, and it causes people that may not have thought of the question before after all these years. It spurs something to us. So,
The young boy made that really apparent to me. That he's being there is a constant presence of who he's finally named. It was a constant presence for me until I was finally told I'm bipolar. Now I can start to see things differently.
Since the Greeks threw us all in an arena and had folks like you, encouraging conversation, it's been at the heart of us as humans. And so I'm grateful to all of you for joining us in our arena tonight. For all of you artists who do this night after night for us, thank you so very, very much. To you guys for joining us tonight for your conversation, thank you. We look forward to seeing you guys for the next show, Fade. Get home safely, and we will see you soon. Have a great evening.